Hello, dear friends. Here we are, 40 nights with the Promised Consoler, and this is day or night 14th. How about it, huh? And it's our opportunity also to stream this through Kardec Radio. We have a new app, and the app is an opportunity for those who don't have Facebook to follow us. Don't forget that after these episodes are recorded here, they are going to be placed in our YouTube channel for those also who don't have access to Facebook. Spread the news, okay? Today, we are going to talk about Chapter 2, The Intellectual Candidate, from the book Contos e Apólogos by Brother X or Humberto de Campos through Chico Xavier. These books are not yet in English, but they are becoming in English. Here we are, right? The efforts of Carlos Diaz, ourselves, the good spirits, and all of you together helping us put this effort in place. Why? Why? That's a question Kardec asked to the good spirits. Why do we need these lessons? Because most often than not, we forget the laws of God, or we simply disregard it. You know, just like children, when you look at them and you say their name and you call them and they pretend they're not listening. Yeah. That's exactly our attitude in life. It could be worse, but that's the minimum we can say. Like children, we just want to do something else. We don't yet understand the consequences. It's the extension of the consequences of our actions, so we just keep whistling and we need somebody to say, hello, can we stop? Can we talk? You better listen, or inevitably suffering comes. Remember yesterday when we were studying, and Jesus kindly shared that we'll only be shielded by fear after experience, through time, and awakening messages. Pain. Pain is an awakening method for the soul. All right, so what is for us at stake today? Interesting, surprising. always. No wonder Jesus was crucified, because the message is revealing, unsurpassing, unique. We've never heard of such messages in our lives. Jesus is this beautiful combination of the truth and compassion. We're yet to see those two together, because sometimes we think the truth is too rough or compassion is too soft and sweet. Jesus is the perfect combination, and we're yet to understand it. For now, we're going to say hi to the beautiful community, because we're building this together with you, thought to thought, feeling to feeling, vibration to vibration. Let us visualize this beautiful community around the world that is built together to study these messages, do these therapeutic exercises, the realizations, the insights, and then put it into practice, transforming our lives, right? And teaming up with the one and only Master Jesus Christ. Hello, Andrea. It's good to see you. Leia Severo, how are you? And Rihanna. Rihanna, it's a new day for you there in South Africa, right? Yes, and by the way, for those who are interested in partaking in this beautiful effort, the book drive, we've just got to know today through Claudia Nunes from Florida, that in a simple WhatsApp through the Federation of Florida, they've already collected more than 9 books. So this is just the beginning. People can donate the books and send it to us, and then in one whole package in July we're gonna send it to the group in South Africa. Or you can donate the money, and we assure you that 100% of the funds will go to buying the books that will go to South Africa, to Rihanna's group that is beginning and growing, because it's hard to have books there. Very expensive, very difficult, and we're teaming up here. Hello, Ceisa, Jussara, welcome, welcome, dear soul. Now you're here, let us grow. Let us love, let us serve, let us help everyone, right? And Sunshine, hello, thank you for the heart, for the flowers. Everyone is receiving them, feeling happy. Patrícia Tiago, beautiful bouquet of flowers, the reverence to Jesus. Felipe, how are you? Remember, friends, we'll be in Washington, D.C. this weekend for the 6th workshop in Washington, D.C. And this time we're going to do special workshops trying to sum up, not really summing up, but working on the ideas of the book Thought and Life and exercises, okay? Therapeutic exercises. Adilson and Angelita, how are you? Leia Severo. Yes, Leia, the Seven Spiritus Federation is preparing the event, the Gift of Life. I know. That's good. Yeah, enjoy, okay? And Valeria, how are you? Hey, my friend Robson Binhão, how are you too? Here we are together. For those who are watching us, and this is on demand for you, we're not saying your names, but we are aware you're there, and we wish you lots of good vibrations to make you feel as well, because we know many people in the world do not have spiritist centers, that this is your corner, your spiritist corner, okay, on the earth, where you can feel, you can be nourishing yourself in a daily basis to be strong in these very challenging times on the earth. Hello, Rita Di Cassia. Thank you for joining us. Are you prepared, friends? This chapter 2, the intellectual candidate, is very deep, but very interesting. Let us read. Let us open our hearts and with true reverence to Humberto de Campos, Chico Xavier, Emmanuel, and Jesus. Let us open ourselves to understand what we haven't understood yet, all of us together. It is said that after the fruitless conversations with the doctors of the law in Jerusalem regarding the services of the good news, Jesus was sought by a candidate for the new kingdom, who was characterized by a profound intellectual capacity. Pause. The text is not too long, but we're going to pause and discuss as we go. Fruitless conversations with the doctors of the law. And then you may be asking, but isn't Jesus the master? Didn't he know that the doctors of the law would not understand? Right? Wouldn't he know that it would be fruitless to talk to them? But don't forget, he's the educator. Educators, they repeat the lessons. They keep investing. They keep creating what we call in psychology this room for contemplation of the learning. When we talk about, there are several theories of behavioral change and even thought change, and it all begins in the pre-contemplation steps. Many people are not even contemplating it. Some are contemplating, but they don't quite yet understand how, or they have a different paradigm. And Jesus knew it. But that's how you open or create some permeability for the cascade of events that are going to happen. Like, for example, a cell, okay? Think about scientists in the lab. As a scientist, whenever we want to make for example, I have a cell and I want to know if there is a specific protein in this cell. I first need to create permeability in the membrane of the cell. To create permeability in the membrane of the cell, I'm going to use agents that are soap-like agents that create holes, disrupting some of these membranes, so we can inject some substances that are going to bind to the proteins that I want and paint it, like stain it. And later, when I dehydrate, I can look at the microscope and see it. Why am I saying this to you? Because this is not only a procedure that helps us in the tissues of the cell. It's a mechanism that happens in our minds. So the process of creating permeability to the thought comes with external agents. No wonder our dear good spirits, through Kardec's questions, they reveal to us that though we have the laws of God in our conscience, question 621 of the Spirit's book, they said that they need to send people who are more advanced than us. God sends them so they can inspire us, reminding us, telling us, hey, pay attention. So creating permeability, creating room for contemplation. And once we begin to contemplate the possibility of creating new habits, of changing, then at a certain moment, life is going to present the ultimate element that is going to get into the equation so I can finally see it. I can see clearly now that the rain is gone. The rain of what? The rain of my ignorance. Jesus is going to talk about it here. The rain of our ignorance. Yeah, it showers constantly upon us, right? But one day it's going to stop. Yeah. Or like children, they say, rain, rain, go away. Don't come again another day, right? Don't come again. And that's exactly what it is. So Jesus, why is Humberto de Campos beginning this text about the conversation with an intellectual candidate by talking about the doctors of the law and mentioning how he approached them and it was fruitless? From the get-go, he's already telling us the message. It's not enough to know. We forgot to feel it. There are so many people, even in the Spiritist movement, they come to me as a scientist. Vanessa, the day we talk about science, people will understand Spiritism. I don't think so. Kardec talked about the combination of the three aspects. And I don't think through science people will come. Why? Because Spiritism is the promised consoler. He doesn't come like the book Evolution into Worlds by Andre Luis, for example. When you read the preface and study it, Andre Luis says, this book is not for those intellectuals who are trying to find out about things out of curiosity, etc. These are for people who are suffering. And it's a book that people insist on thinking that it is for science and scientific people. Not right. Spiritism is the promised consoler. André Louis would not have written any of his books for a particular group of the people on the earth. And he says it in the preface. It's for those who are suffering. How can I read a book of that stature? And I remember my conversation one day, many years ago, with Godinho, Jorge Godinho Neri, who is the president of the Brazilian Spiritist Federation. He said, Vanessa, there are people who suffer because they have intellectual hunger. They need to understand more. But not because they are scientists, just because they need to understand in a different way. And that's when consolation comes. We need to understand how life is put together. When you visualize that it took from the day we were created by God to the day we became human beings, 1.5 billion years. It took us 1.5 billion years to be where we are. The minute you think about this life is not worthwhile, you say, oh, stop it. It took me 1.5 billion years plus a lot of angelic beings in this universe helping me from the get-go to be here. And now I'm going to quit. So now we begin to understand why André Louis said in the preface of the book Evolution in Two Worlds, this book is for those who are suffering and want to be consoled. Does it make sense? Hello, Lígia Beatriz in Piracicaba. Welcome, welcome. Welcome, my friend. And Constance, too. Hello, Constance. Sis and Sol, how are you? Was it your daughter's birthday, Sol? Am I right? If it was, happy birthday. Hello, Katia. Andrea is mentioning here, listening to The Messengers today by André Louis. It awoke in me things that make me change my habits. It was a shock today after listening to André Louis, right? André Louis is really revealing. Thank you for sharing it, Andrea. André Louis' books are really a revelation. One paragraph, a lot of spicy thoughts, but good feelings. The master then received the intellectual candidate cordially. Let us absorb the non-verbal lessons. The intellectual candidate, he knew him, but he was polite, cordial, following the interpellations of the future apprentice. Jesus proceeded explaining the objectives of the enterprise. The gospel would be the light of the nations, and it will be consolidated at the expense of the disciples' renunciation and devotion. Jesus would teach humanity the retribution of evil with the good, infinite forgiveness with infinite hope. Celestial fatherhood would shine for all. Jews and Gentiles would become brothers and sisters, children of the same Father. Friends, the gospel would be the light of the nations, the good news. You will be consolidated at the expense of the disciples' renunciation and devotion. Pause. Do you consider yourself a disciple of Jesus? A follower? Do I consider myself? It's a personal question, but it's a therapeutic question for us. Right? Leah, yes. Because if we do, if I'm seeing the convulsion in the world, and I want to see changes, and I want to ask, how can I help? He's saying, renunciation and devotion. What do I need to renounce? What do you think you need to renounce to follow this message and consolidate with Jesus the message on the earth? What do you think you need to renounce? What do I think I need to renounce? Sometimes the need to be appreciated, the need to be understood. Renounce the need to be understood by relatives, the need to be recognized by a community, the need to be loved and approved by others. Probably that's one of the most important levels of renunciation. It's a practice. But in order to fulfill it, I need to devote myself. Dedicate. Bottom line, Humberto de Campos is describing that Jesus was asking us to put a little more effort and repeat more often the lessons we need to achieve. Tiago is kindly saying, right to the point, renounce the ego. Vanity, pride, right, Tiago? Exactly. But not the ego that is our personality, but the ego that goes beyond and makes us feel separated from others. He says infinite forgiveness. Remember, it's not personal to us. When people do something, they're not doing it personally to us. They're blind, like we are blind when we do things and people think, oh, Vanessa wants to hurt me. Not necessarily. And I tell you, very likely not. But we do hurt people. Why? Because we don't fulfill expectations. Do you think you fulfill expectations of everybody in your life? No. And now with Facebook, there's so many people there. I see very clearly. I have X number of friends, X number of people following. And it increases and it drops. And increases and it drops. Why? Because you don't fulfill people's expectations. And this is so interesting. If God doesn't either. Because people don't agree with God. And God is not interested in fulfilling our expectations. Because if God were, he would be just like in the movie. Right? I forgot the name of the movie, but it's a funny movie in which the guy, he plays God and he has to answer all these emails. And it's crazy, all these requests. God's not like that, saying, oh my God, if I don't reply to this request, this person is going to kill himself. No. But God is not insensitive, but God doesn't have those personal qualities that we're trying to portray. And Jesus is not there trying to fulfill our expectations either. And in this dialogue, you see it. So why are we going to try to fulfill anybody's expectations? And why are we going to take, exactly, thank you, Bion, Bruce Almighty, so funny, that movie is a human portrait, it's a comedy. And God's not like that. God's not trying to make our wish come true. After all, God's will is unsurpassing. And God's will is inside of us. We just need to decide to consciously let it flow. Right? Let it flow, let it flow. Can't hold it back anymore. Right? Okay, just to make sure. Kardec Radio is there. So here, friends, we have the candidate. You ready? Brianna is reminding us. Last night we talked about a disciple in the gospel, and we said we are apostles, learning while working. You're right. Julisha, how are you? Beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And a new day already for you and for Rihanna. Mamma mia. Thank you, friends. You're ahead. Now, I'm not going to interrupt the dialogue between Jesus and the candidate. Let us listen. And after that, the good mentor Joseph is going to help us, okay? Outline everything. The intelligent candidate fixed his eyes on the Lord and asked Jesus, "What philosophical school will we obey?" The divine friend responded graciously, "The school of heaven." And other questions rained down in an improvised manner. Who will preside over the organization? Jesus replied, "Our Heavenly Father." On what basis will we accept the political domination of the Romans? On the basis of mutual respect and mutual help. How should we proceed in case we are persecuted in our activities by the Sanhedrin? We will excuse ignorance as often as it takes. What right will the new revelation give to its followers? The right to serve without demands. The man's eyes widened, and he continued to inquire Jesus. The man's eyes widened. What will the disciple's salary be? It will be the salary of the joy of practicing the good. Will we be members of a great party? Jesus replied, "Everywhere will be an assembly of workers attentive to the divine will." What about its program? Jesus replied, "The program will stand on the new teachings of love, work, hope, concord, and forgiveness. Where will the immediate command voice be? In the conscience. What about the safe boxes that will maintain the movement? They will be placed in our capacity to produce the good. Who will be our immediate contact individual? Above all, it will be the Father, and on the common road, it will be our strength. Who will retain the best position in the ministry? The one that serves the most. The candidate scratched his head, frankly disoriented, and continued at the end of the pause. What fundamental objective will ours be? Jesus answered, without getting angry, "The world, regenerated, ennobled, and happy." How much time will we spend on it? The needed time. How many reliable partners do we have to start the work? We have those who can understand us and who want to help us. But will we have the resources to constrain followers to active collaboration? In the divine kingdom, there is no violence. How many philosophers, priests, and politicians will accompany us? In our apostolate, the transitory condition does not matter, and the quality remains above the number. How many countries will the mission cover? All nations. Will they make a difference between masters and slaves? All men and women are children of God. Where do you get the to start the buildings? Here in Jerusalem? In the heart of the apprentices. Are the notebooks ready? Yes. Which are they? Our lives. The talented Advent continue to inquire, but Jesus, silenced, smiling and calmly. After a long series of unanswered questions, the young man inquired anxiously, "Lord, why do you not clarify my questions?" The Christ stroked his restless shoulders and said, "Come find me when you be willing to collaborate." And saying so, Jesus left Jerusalem in the direction of Galilee, where he sought out the humble and rustic fishermen who knew nothing of Greek or of Roman law, yet they were perfectly ready to work with joy and serve for love without asking anything. Surprised? I am very surprised. Every time I read this text, I'm surprised that we have this text and we may be still far from it. How many questions, if you had Jesus in front of you right now, would you ask many questions? Or questions? What questions would you ask, if any? Right? Maybe we're not that far from the intellectual candidate who is so inquisitive but not ready to collaborate. But let us observe first, before the content of the answers, let us observe and do an analysis on the emotional body language of Jesus, the non-verbal lessons that often we don't pay attention. First and foremost, he listened. And when he answered with grace. Let us visualize it, because we have in our physiology the preparedness to absorb the visual elements that the Humberto de Campos is describing to us. And in that, we are training our minds and our spiritual and physical bodies to create a new pathway that will sustain a new approach, one that is more coherent, more congruent, as we say in neuroscience, in which what we feel, what we say, what we think, and what we do are going to be one. and not fragmented parts of us in which I think something, feel something else, say something, and do something else. So 4 different things, totally splitted. No wonder many people on the earth feel so tired, so drained, because they're so conflicted. They feel something, they think something else, they do something, and they say something else. 4 different things, to say the least. And then we are constantly conflicted, splitted, feeling we cannot be one. To unify it all, we need to be coherent. Coherent, right? Rita DiCasio is saying, he knows everything. I would ask many questions about life, my life. Thank you, Rita, for your kindness and for your sincerity. Why wouldn't we, right? He loves talking to everyone. Hello, Rudy. Thought in Life, Chapter 3. I will read it 3 times after our lesson is over tonight. You're right. Exactly. Chapter 3 about cooperation. All right? How to be the co-pilot? And Rihanna is saying, I would just thank him, which I do while meditate. We need to just be thankful. It's a question for us. If we're going to be inquisitive like the intellectual candidate, like, what about this? What about that? What about this? And Jesus is like, my friend, time is running. People are suffering. Let's go. Let's go and help. But anyhow, he responded with grace. And the guy kept asking and asking and asking. And he was listening and patiently answering. Nowadays, even parents, children ask questions, say stuff, and they're like, oh, please, can you turn on your iPad? And then they come to us, the therapist, and say, but my child, my baby, my toddler is so much on the tablet. But who gave the tablet to them? Who gave them you train them. You teach them. Like Mentor Joseph taught me to tell Virginia, Virginia, right now I need you to watch this cartoon while mommy needs to talk with somebody on the phone and there's nobody else to take care of you. But it's restricted to that time. It's not like the whole afternoon. Because if I let her do it for the whole afternoon, one day I was sick, nobody to help. I said, Mentor Joseph, I'm so sorry, but I can't. He said, okay, go ahead. But tell her that she's watching to give you some rest. You're next to her. But the time that Carlos comes home, it's over. But the minute we had to put a stop, it was very hard. Why? The brain is speeding up. Shh. But who is at fault? The child? No, the parents. The parents. But we don't have patience to interact with them, to look at them, smile. Some parents say, but Vanessa, and I see it's so difficult nowadays. We have so many demands. But they say, Vanessa, how do I manage to play with them? Sometimes I have no ideas. Just be with them. Let them lead. Let them lead. They make even babies, they make the faces, you smile. Right? You don't need to do much. Toddlers, let them lead the way. And let them lead the way. Yeah, let them lead the way. Let the children lead the way. They lead the way, and we are with them. They know we're there with them. That's it. Let their imagination be boosted. Their creativity. We don't know how to interact when we start. Be willing to be the authority before them. Like, I'm going to tell them what to do, when to do it, how to do it, It's very difficult, very demanding. It's impossible. Right? Jesus was not like this. Look at the other part of the beautiful body language. He was asking and Jesus was patiently answering. Answering very objectively. Say how the answers that Jesus gave were to the point. He was not like blah, 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 blah. He was like, what will it make a difference between master and slaves? All men and women are children of God. He didn't say because and when and while. To the point. Some people have partners who are not spiritists and they want to know how to approach. Don't approach, let them come. They ask. And if they ask, you are to the point. So what is reincarnation? Reincarnation is when the spirit takes a new body for a new experience. But how does it take a new body? Well, at conception, it's enveloped by the perispirit. It connects to the first cell. And from there on, that connection boosts the growth of the physical body. And then they keep asking, and you're to the point. To the point. There's no but, when, this, and that, and the other. Jesus is teaching us how to approach it. Even the way you should dialogue. Hello, Enilda. Now, at a moment, Jesus understood that this person didn't want to cooperate. So what did he do? Did he lecture him? No. He smiled and stayed calm. Calm and smiling. People come to the Spiritist Center. They don't understand. They start asking questions. Let them ask. If they're going overboard, let them ask. And then you smile and stay calm because it's between God and them. And then, let's observe this. The man was anxious. Observe the pair. Anxiety and Jesus' reply. What does he do? The man asked, Lord, why don't you clarify my questions? What did Jesus do? He stroked the restless shoulders of the young man. Restless shoulders. Stroke. Come find me when you'll be willing to cooperate. Think about this body language. As a behavioral scientist, I say it's such a perfect fitting. Because observe, when people are companions, what is the gesture? They touch each other's shoulder and they are equally working together, right? You see, the gesture of Jesus was not only to calm him down, but also to say, when you're actually ready to cooperate, to operate with others, to teamwork, to work together with God. Observing the body language, how the beauty of these teachings. Hira de Cássia is saying about the event in Miami. Thank you. The event's going to be in Portuguese though. There will be translation. But the event is going to be in Portuguese. So that's why we're not announcing here, Rita. Okay? Because there are many people here who don't understand Portuguese. So, here we have, let's go back to the teachings. What philosophical school will we obey? The school of heaven. That's the school. What is heaven? Is what? The perfect harmony with God's laws. The school to get us into this harmony. Right? in which we respect each other's space, each other's lives, right? And who will preside it? Jesus could have said, me, but he's so humble. He said, our Heavenly Father. He didn't even say him. In between the lines, he shows his own virtues. Teachings for us, non-verbal lessons. This would be an analysis that we call in psychology the analysis of the discourse. Thank you, Rita. Thank you. The analysis of the discourse is about the analysis in between the words that the person speaks. When somebody speaks, who will preside the organization, and Jesus replies, our Heavenly Father, he's teaching us humility because he could have said him. What about the political domination? And it's so interesting because even in religious organizations, we have politics, and it's so vain and so useless because people tend to believe that in their temporary post, they are going to they're going to be immortalized. And they don't understand that others have come and gone. They will come and they will go. And others will come and will go. And most often, they won't make a difference. Because those who make a difference usually are not involved with the politics. And he says, the basis of mutual respect and mutual help. Mutual respect and mutual help. It doesn't permeate the politics. And he says, what about those who persecute us? We will excuse ignorance as often as it takes. It's part of life on the earth. Hello, Célio. How are you and your beautiful wife? Hope all's well. The man's eyes were like, he was like in shock. And what would be the right of those who follow? And this is interesting, the new revelation. The right to serve without demands. For you and I, because we are following it. How often do we feel we do something this little? How come? I do all of it and I receive nothing in return, Jesus. Don't you see I'm working for you? Nobody's working for Jesus. We're working for God, with God, through Jesus. The right to serve without demands. Are you ready? That's why we need to sing this song to ourselves. We need to sing that song. And you know, it's a song that I would recommend to all mothers to be, all parents to be. Mentor Joseph gave me these songs when I was pregnant to sing to Virginia. I sing it to date. It was in Portuguese. We put it in English. But I know it by heart in the Portuguese version. Querida Virgínia, filhinha do coração, tu és a luz, you are the light that comes from Jesus, que vem de Jesus, para servir a Deus na terra. Você é luz, você é paz, você é a alegria de viver. We should tell each other this. We should tell each other this. The opportunity of feeling that we are light that comes from Jesus. That we are here to serve God. And we are light, we are peace, we are joy of living. Shall we? The weird joy of living? Do you feel yourself here to serve God, waking up and saying, God, I'm ready for you? I know, Rita. Yes, I was talking to Jussara today and I said it's good news that the promise of a new Spiritist radio is one that was in Portuguese, now in English, in Atlanta, spiritistradio.com. They promised that tomorrow they're gonna begin it in English. I'm looking forward to that, friends. Okay, I told John Santos that we're here supporting and we look for it because the work is immense in this world, okay? Tiago is saying every incarnation takes place because one is given the right to live. Having a body is a gift. Exactly. Thank you, Valéria. Justina, how are you and your grown-up kids? Beautiful children. God bless, my friend. Now, observe Jesus. What is the salary for those who work with him? The salary of joy, of practicing the good. No, don't go serving and ask, oh, but the president of the center didn't even say thank you. Oh, but we're not supposed to say thank you. You're not working for us. The other day, somebody said, Vanessa, oh, the boss is calling me. And the other friend of mine said, who is the boss? Oh, Vanessa, she's the president of the center. She's not the boss. I'm not the boss. In the sense of like, no, we're just the facilitators. I don't want to be the boss. And God is not even the boss. God, Jesus never mentioned that God is the boss, right? Everywhere, and are we going to be Democrats or Republicans or nothing, he said. We'll be an assembly of attentive workers, attentive to the divine will. Are you paying attention to the divine will? What is the divine will? Like Virginia asked me one day when I talked to her about the will of God, she said, what about the will of children? And she's only 3. I said, Virginia, that's a good question. But I know the will of children, Virginia. We need to learn about the will of God, right? Yes, my friend, Mentor Joe's just relayed the lyrics to me, okay, from a team of good spirits in the spiritual realm, okay? And I have more songs that I'm sharing with the group that we have here, the Spiritist group for spiritistparenting.com or .org, or the Facebook page Spiritist Parenting. Spiritist Support for Parents is an opportunity to give parents one-on-one, like it's helping one parent at a time from the Spiritist perspective. Now, what about the program? It's love, work, hope, concord, and forgiveness. Why forgiveness? Why does Jesus insist in forgiveness in his program? Because love we understand. Because it's the nourishment. Work, of course, it's effort. Hope, of course, we need to renew ourselves every day because sometimes we get tired, it's challenging. Concord, of course, we need unity, but forgiveness, why? Only when we understand the human mind, we understand why forgiveness is imperative. Without forgiveness, we cannot even give ourselves a new opportunity. Why? Because inevitably, we're going to make mistakes. Inevitably, we're going to make choices that are not appropriate. And what should we do? Forgive ourselves. And if it's others, forgive them. And those who are the closest to us will be the ones who will be hurting us because they know us. They're too close. Not because they do it purposefully, but because they are with us and we are with them. Right, Duska? Welcome, my friend. Sunshine is reminding us, no love without forgiveness, exactly. So the closer people get to us, the more likely at one point we're going to hurt them, they're going to hurt us. Why? Because they're going to expect something from us we don't know, or we know and we cannot fulfill, and vice versa. So the mature friendship comes like Jesus showed to us. He called all of us friends, and the true friendship is based on what? On giving each other another chance and saying, hey, I was expecting something different. Did you notice this? No. But I did this because of that. Oh, I thought it was something else. We talk. We communicate. Jesus always invested on communication. How much of your relationships, how much of you you are investing on the communication in your relationships? Because majority of people on earth, they expect that either this friendship is ready or is never going to be ready. And that's immaturity. Because true friendship is built, as Jesus showed us, under the basis of love, work, hope, concord, and forgiveness. Today, Judas and Jesus are on the same page. Thanks to the investment of forgiveness, love, hope, work, concord on Jesus' part. What about us? Right? So, Jesus also said all these things without getting angry. It's important to observe this. Because sometimes we get frustrated with people and we become angry. Jesus is teaching us. Don't go there. Stay calm. Smile. Smile when your heart is aching. Smile. Na, 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 na. Right? Smile, smile, smile. Oh yeah, blessings to Carlos. Thank you, Rudy, for your kindness. Thank you. I always relay your messages to him. Thank you, Cesa. Be assertive with each other. Be sincere. Be honest. And we should always be thankful that we have frank and honest friends with us. We should be worried when people are too soft and lacking sincerity, lacking honesty. We usually like those friends, but not necessarily they are the best friends, because the best friends are the ones who are sincere, honest, because they invest on the relationship. And don't forget, even if you're married, that person is supposed to be a friend. As I often tell Carlos, before you're my husband, you and I are children of God, brother and sister, and will be. This bond here in this rose is temporary, but the everlasting is children of God. Let's invest on that. Otherwise, we'll never be able to go on. Enilda is sharing. Forgiveness is the key for our happiness because always we need each other. Thank you, Enilda. Let's stay a little longer because this is too deep to wrap up too soon. You see how the candidate was puzzled? He was disoriented. He was puzzled. How many people, if we read this text to them, they're like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? That we'll spend as much time as needed. We're not going to enforce. We're not going to force anybody to cooperate. And Jesus said, no, there's no violence in the divine kingdom. No violence, friends. No violence means no violence. no aggressiveness. But people are stupid. Well, how can we assure we are not stupid either? Because, it's a matter of reference. And is somebody going to enforce us to do things? No. Andrea, you're so sweet. What is the objective? The world being regenerated, ennobled, and happy. That's the goal. Are we going to call great philosophers, politicians, and religious leaders? No. And what does he say? The transitory condition, being a great doctor, being a great this, that is not the matter. And quality remains more than number. Friends, quality. Quality. I know people who come to me and say, Vanessa, how many Americans are in your Spiritist Center? I don't know. I never count. It doesn't matter. Because in the spiritual realm, there are many more. It doesn't matter. I don't know how many are there. Because if I do all in Portuguese, I probably will have more people in the incarnate plane, but the discarnate will be almost empty, and they are majority. And we won't be able to be spiritually webcasting. Because as much as we have a material webcast, there is a spiritual one. And the spiritual webcast goes beyond the borders of this country, the United States. It goes to all the other countries, all the spiritual population that still is not very much evolved and doesn't understand other language than in English. It's not about number. It's the quality, not the quantity. Jesus said this very message to Zebedee when we read the book Good News, the father of John and James. He repeated it here to the intellectual men. But we spiritists are yet to understand it because we keep insisting that the numbers are right. And there are people who go give talks in places that have great numbers, forgetting that we're yet to open new avenues in places where there are none. Questions for us. We sound so much like the intellectual man who doesn't want to collaborate, but want to demand. And I'm not saying you, we're saying overall. How many countries will the mission cover? All nations. All nations. And where are we going to build it? In the hearts, with our lives. That's where we're going to write it. And what did Jesus do when he didn't want to understand? He left. And left the intellectual group in Jerusalem and went to the Galilean simplicity. Friends, where is your Galilee? Where is your Galilee? Where are the people in your life that are waiting for you? They're ready. They're not going to ask. They're just going to team up with you. Maybe we're teaming up with the wrong people. Let's team up with the right ones. The simple. The ones that need a message. The ones that are thirsty for consolation. The ones that they feel already that they are children of God. They don't need to be proved about anything, because they already accept it. All they want is to understand a little more. Shall we? Let's meditate on this message. And to wrap up, we're going to invite you to feel the stroke of Jesus on the restless shoulders of the young man, touching us and saying, "Come find me when you be willing to cooperate." Shall we feel this invitation? Let us feel the invitation. If you're already there, keep feeling the partnership shoulder by shoulder with Jesus. If not, let us feel the invitation. Okay? Thank you so much. Tomorrow we come back. I'm going to write to you in the Facebook page the chapter that we're going to be studying from this book, Contos e Apólogos, by Brother X through Chico Xavier. Many blessings.